Hey, this is ConvoCourses podcast, and this is unscripted, straight out the top of my head. Probably an ill-advised way to do this, but this is how I do it. And let's get this started. I'm going to answer some questions, and I'm keeping it live. So if you actually are talking to me now, you'll have appeared on this podcast. It's going to survive forever. So let's do this. I got a few questions, first of all, I believe these came from my YouTube ConvoCourses site, but I'll answer some ones that came from email and everywhere else. And if you happen to be live and ask questions, I'll do my very best to answer those questions. But let's start with what is it like to be in IT daily? I think I got this one. I got this one a few times actually, but I want to say I got this particular one from email. Somebody emailed this question to me. What is it like to do IT day to day? So cybersecurity day to day. So it really depends on your job. Cybersecurity is a very big field. It's a huge field. Like you have all these different categories of cybersecurity. You've got people who are in cryptography, mathematicians, people who are professional hackers, people who do pen testing, people who do assessments, cybersecurity assessments. You've got people to do information system security officer work, compliance, governance, people who actually are just firewall administrators. You got IPS administrators, IDS administrators, cybersecurity, and you get the idea. There's many different categories. So when you say cybersecurity, what's your daily life like? It really depends on what job you're doing. But I can tell you about a few of them that I've done in my career. So I've done, I did network engineering for a while. I can tell you what that's like day to day. And I can tell you, information system security officer work. Man, I did that for a really long time. I can tell you what that's like. And I can tell you what a cybersecurity analyst does. So let's start with the one I know the best, which is information system security officer. What is that like to do every day? What's the daily life of that? For every single situation, it depends on the organization. And you have a large, medium, and small organizations, and what I've worked in all of those, and the amount of work that they get, it really depends on how much work they're getting at that time too, is what's going to affect those are all factors that are going to affect your daily routine and how much workflow you have. The biggest things that affect your daily routine is going to be if they have processes that are in place. The best organizations are the ones who have very clearly defined processes, and they're able to figure out how much work goes to each person. Those are the best because they allow you to actually manage your time in the day. The worst ones are the ones who they don't have a clearly defined process, policy, or procedure, and it's just chaos. They're just kind of throwing things against the wall, see what sticks. It's the worst because they can have you doing work, and then you deliver something, and they're like, this isn't what we wanted, and that's very frustrating, psychologically frustrating. Anyway, you want to know what you do on a day-to-day basis for information system security officer work. So an information system security officer is going to be a person who is coordinating with a lot of different stakeholders. Stakeholders are people who have an interest in the information system security assets. And the assets are the information systems, the important information if you think of a bank. So in a bank, they have servers and they have all of their clients' data. The data is very essential to their business, and the system that data sits on is an asset, because if that goes down, you don't have access to your data, or the data is corrupt, or whatever, right? So an information system security officer is working with the people who are directly interacting with that data, interacting with the customers, interacting with the larger organizations. So they're talking to everyone from the C-level execs, but mostly they're talking to other technical people. They're talking to other policy people that's in the organization. So what are they talking about? They're talking about, okay, Windows had a bunch of patches on Tuesday. We have to where those implemented. They're talking about things like that. They'll be talking to, like, say, the vulnerability management team. So you have a whole nother team or a person who does nothing but handles the vulnerability management. So information security officer, one of their tasks is going to be to make sure that the security controls are still in place, effectively in place on a regular basis. Continuous monitoring is really the main job you do. That means all the time looking at the security controls and making sure that they're adequately in place. That includes making sure documentation is up to date. That includes making sure that if there was a recent scan, you're going to be looking through that scan and analyzing, okay, are our controls still in place? You may do things like that. And then if something's off, like you have a bunch of critical findings, you have a bunch of things that says, okay, Microsoft's out of date, Linux is out of date, Oracle's out of date, Adobe Photoshop's out of date, and you have this huge list. Now you have to see what is going on. So you'll be coordinating with a manager, be like, hey, we just got this scan in. Could you take a look at it? And it's looking like it's really bad. Could you take another look at it? You'll take a look at it, right? That might take you a few hours. You're drinking in the morning, drinking your coffee in the morning, where you're looking at this report, and now you have to figure out what's going on. So you can't arbitrarily just assume everything is bad. Like, there may be some things. Some of it might be a false positive. Some of it might have just been cleared. Is this old data? Is this stuff that we can fix? When can we fix it? You won't answer those things by yourself, so you have to coordinate with, say, the vulnerability management team. Maybe they gave you an old scan. Maybe the scan is accurate, but a bunch of these systems are about to be decommissioned. They're about to leave. Like, you have to figure that out. So the only way to figure that out is to work with the team. So a lot of your work is working directly with the team to figure out what's going on with the security controls. That's the main job you do. And then you're documenting what's going on. Like, let's say you meet up with the vulnerability management team, and you guys have a 30-minute meeting, and they explain to you, that is the most recent scan, but we just moved to this new scanner. So here's the other scan data. We just moved to another scanner, and here's the results. And then maybe you guys go through the results together right on the call. 30 minutes later, you realize you don't have as many critical findings as you thought you did, but you do have a few, and now you have to coordinate with another group, the system administrators, because you got to figure out, okay, why haven't these configurations been applied? You meet with them and you go through the same thing. Like, okay, you're walking through, here's what I found. You show them what you found. Vulnerability management team says that according to the new scan data, this is not configured correctly. But they say that it's been patched, but it's not configured correctly. Can you take a look at this? And you guys look at it. So it's mostly, with the information security officer, it's mostly meeting with stakeholders, documenting findings of what's going on, and continuous monitoring. That's really your main job. A lot of your time is spent interpreting controls, making sure the controls are still remain effective in the environment. So this is a little different from what you might see for a cybersecurity analyst. So what does it look like for a cybersecurity analyst from day to day? Cybersecurity analyst is somebody who's looking at logs. They might work in a security operations center. This is just one type of security analyst, by the way, cybersecurity analyst. But the one that I did was, I was in a SOC, and we looked at data coming in and out. So our whole day, and we did shift work because you have to constantly have eyes on the data coming out, and the data is constant. It doesn't stop. It doesn't have weekends off. It doesn't have holidays. So the data is constant and going on all the time. As a matter of fact, when somebody really wants to hack you, they're going to do it at 3 a.m. on Christmas Eve. They're not playing around. So you have to always be looking at the data. So your whole day is spent literally looking at data on a screen and then taking some of it, taking the interesting traffic. That means the traffic, like, you already know, like, there's a certain amount of data that's going to go in and out for people's work. And it might look suspicious, but you already know, like, we already know what this stuff is. But there's going to be just a little bit of traffic, like 1% of traffic, that's called interesting traffic, that you're going to really look at, and you're going to analyze it. You're going to take that data. Let's say it looks like somebody has tried to log in 5,000 times in 3 seconds into this one particular system, and that system might be an asset, right? Maybe it's a system that you have in a DMZ that holds public records or something for your users, for clients, for the organization. So you might look at the logs on what's going on, like, what happened here. Was this an internal system? You're going to be looking at the source, the destination, and what occurred. And then you're going to make a determination on whether you should escalate it to a security incident. If it's a security incident, then you have to alarm someone else in your organization, an incident response team, to figure out for them to either check out that box to see if it's actually hacked, see what this traffic is, and maybe even implement like something with the firewall team to stop that traffic. So that's mainly what you do on a day-to-day basis for cybersecurity analyst work, where you're just basically looking at data, looking at logs, and trying to find where the interesting traffic is, to stop it, to see if it needs to be escalated, or to ignore it. It's something that needs to be ignored because we already know what this traffic is. It's something that our people need to do their work. That's kind of your whole day. And it's shift work. So you're going to be working like either a day shift for 12 hours or a mid shift, night shift, a swing shift for 12 hours, or a night shift for 12 hours. So the last one, let me see. We talked about information system security officer. What do they do? We talked about cybersecurity analyst. What do they do? The other one is technical, where you're actually fixing things. So this one, let me see. I was an architect doing some SIEM technology at one point. My job was, what I did was, I was in charge of, or one of the people on the team. I don't remember I was in charge for a little bit, but I was a part of a team that made sure that the SIEM was up and running at all times. So if something broke, somebody would ring the alarm, call us, whatever they have to do, and we have to come in there and fix it. So we were responsible for upgrading it, setting it up, and maintaining it. And in some occasions, we would create content for the actual analysts. So that means that we would make sure, we would look for things like, we would create like a rule. It's not programming, but it was very similar to programming. Like, you would make a rule set that would trigger whenever, say, somebody attempted to log in a specific system a certain amount of time, within a certain period of time, or something like that. Was what you could do. Or if somebody came into this port on the firewall and they went to this system and they did this service, you would write a program, it's not really a program, but you would write content to where it would trigger and then send an email or a message or pop up on a screen to tell the security analyst, hey, look at this. This is interesting traffic. This might be of interest to you. Check this thing out. So that's what I would do. My daily routine was, if there was nothing going on, like if there was nothing to fix, or if there's, nothing is down, there's no content to create, then, sometimes I'd be organizing some of the old content that they had. Like, they'd have all of these old manuals. I would update those. Or I'd be researching like the new upgrade, or just studying. A lot of times I was studying, to be honest with you, because I was new to the system. So it's probably 70% of my time was studying the system and trying to figure it out, and then learning the back end of it, because at the time it was on Oracle. It was very complicated. So I was trying to constantly study and figure things out. So that was 70% of my time was studying. And then the other percent of my time was fixing things. Oh, this thing went down, or hey, we need content for this, or creating content for people. So that was what my job was like. And I noticed like most of my purely technical jobs were like that, where you were just pretty much sitting around until something went wrong, until something happened. Like when I was doing network engineering, most of my time was like studying Cisco stuff, and if nothing was broken, we were just waiting. We were just sitting there waiting, or we'd be on call or something like that. But it wasn't constant meetings. It was in a way less stressful, because you only would get stressed when something was broke, and then it was like it was like an alarm, and things on people's hairs on fire, people panicking and freaking out and stuff like that. So the technical jobs, I would say, are actually easier. I know that sounds crazy, but actual purely technical jobs, you're sitting around waiting for something to happen. And if nothing's happening, you're chilling. You're chilling, man. You could chill in a cyber analyst job. The analysts who weren't very good or don't know what they're looking at, they kind of just, they didn't really have a lot to do, because they don't really know what's interesting traffic and what's not. They didn't really know like how where to go or what to do. So they were just staring at a screen of a bunch of data they don't understand. And so what would happen is they would get these other tasks. Hey, do this task, clear out this queue here. We have all of this traffic. Look through all of this traffic right here and see if you see anything interesting, stuff like that. So that's what you do on a daily basis. I hope that answers that question. Somebody asked me, what do you do if you're an information security officer? So I just expanded on all the other ones. Let me see. What other questions do I have here? What is it like working in IT? It really depends on the job. It depends on the job that you're doing. Having done purely technical, operational, and like more of a management side of the house, it's different for each one. Overall, I would say number one, there's way more job security in IT. I will give you that. So let me give you some pros and cons. Pros. Let's start with the pros. There's way more job security in IT. Even if you're a contractor and you get laid off, if you're in IT and you got like 2-3 years of experience, you can get another job. It may not be the job you want. It may not pay as well as your other job. A lot of Americans, they complain about they can't find a job. There's lots of jobs here. A lot of times they don't want to do this or that job. And it's the same thing in IT. Like a lot of times there's jobs there, but it doesn't pay this. You don't feel like moving here or there. There's always something going on. But I would say IT, the biggest pro for me has been job security. I can always find a job. It may not be where I want to go. It may not be what I want to do. It may not be a great company. It may not pay well, but it is always a job that I can do. Another pro is I noticed that it's less, and I know this is not going to apply to everyone, but they don't tend to care where you're from or what you look like as long as you can do the work. This is such a huge bonus because I've worked in other jobs before. When I was much younger, I did other jobs. I was a cop for a whole like 5 years. And for being a cop, first of all, is the most stressful job I've ever done in my life, number one. Number two, they're not going to discriminate necessarily against your size or weight or whatever, but you did have to be in some kind of physical shape. And then how can I... There is not I'm not gonna say it's discrimination, but in IT, it just takes your mind. Like you don't have to be physically fit. You don't have to be so tall, or You don't have to, like it's less based on physical and more focused on what you can bring, who you are, what you can bring to the table skill wise. And I really appreciate that. That's a huge pro that I have not seen in any other jobs I was in my life. Another pro, let me see, what are other good things, benefits of IT? It usually pays better than most jobs, I would say. That's another thing. It usually pays and has more benefits like medical and stock options and 401ks and all that bonuses, all that kind of stuff you see regularly in IT. You don't always see that in security jobs, like physical security jobs. You don't always see that in some of the medical field jobs that my wife is in a CNA. She doesn't see a lot of stuff that I see as far as like IT has so many extra benefits and perks and more money on as a whole. It pays more. Not all jobs, but on average it pays more than most, whether you're in retail or you're a cook, or if restaurant, hotel industry, they make way less money. As a matter of fact, a old coworker of mine who worked on that SIEM system with me, he was like a professional services SIEM guy. And a SIEM is a security information event manager that collects logs and then people look at the logs or whatever. But he worked at this company. He told me that his dream was to become a cook. And he did. He was an older guy. He was like, I don't know, when I met him, he's like 45, 50, something like that. He's my age now. But back then, I was in my 30s. He was 15 years older than me, something like that. Anyway, so he was telling me how he used to be a cook back in the day, like in his 30s and 20s and stuff. And it was his dream job. He's a great cook, apparently. He actually ran his own hotel, and he said it just didn't pay that good. It just wasn't. And he owned his own restaurant. Did I say hotel? He owned his own restaurant at some point. He was a cook, and he did it. He went to school to be a cook, all that. He spent $30,000 to become a cook, all this stuff, and he wasn't making a lot of money. And he said he moved into IT because it makes more money. He didn't necessarily want to do IT, but it just made so much more money. Like he was making like six figures when I was talking to him, and had all these crazy bonuses from selling stuff, like from selling IT products and services. So yeah, I mean, it pays way better. Some of the cons, let me see. So pros, we talked about. They don't look at you physically. They just want to know what you can do. That's why they'll hire people from other countries with a huge accent. They'll hire people who are who are goth and have earrings in their freaking face, have tattoos all over. They'll hire people that, black, white, Asian, doesn't matter. Like they don't care. Can you do the job? That's what they care about. That's a huge bonus. I love that. I love being able to work with other people too, from all over the world. For me, that's a huge bonus. And it pays well, it has great benefits. So we talked about all that. Now let's talk about the negative stuff. The negative stuff with IT is, I would say, it kind of depends on what part of IT you go into. It can be very stressful. In what I do, which is more of it's more governance and risk management framework, it can be very stressful at times. And then if you are another one I currently do is risk assessments. It can get very stressful. There's a lot of money involved, and companies, sometimes their entire livelihood depends on the assessments that they get. Because there's a lot of stress involved, and they're constantly under attack by all of these different hackers and stuff. Like it's a war going on all the time, so it can be very stressful depending on what job you go to. I've been at some jobs where, like the network engineering job, wasn't stressful. It was pretty chill. Like we just didn't do anything until something happened. Like we studied, of course, or maybe they want us to document the network or something like that. But if there was nothing going on, if there's nothing broken, you were chilling. It depends on the job. So it can be stressful. It can be volatile too. I know one of the pros I said was that it makes more money and it's more stable, but you can always find a job. But that said, it's constantly moving, like it's volatile. Like you constantly have to learn to keep up with the craft. And you know, in that way, it's not like banking where you learn it one time and then you're good, right? You learn how to flip houses one time and then it's not going to just suddenly change. It's going to remain that way for years. In IT, like you constantly have to learn. So that is, for some people, that's definitely a con. If you can lose your skills, you know, it's almost like a musician, like a really good guitarist. Like if you don't play for a long time, you can lose your skills. But also it's constantly moving. So, and then like another thing that's volatile is the companies are constantly moving. Like you can get into a small company and they get this huge opportunity to have a contract with this gigantic organization, and then they make millions of dollars for a while, then boom, it's gone and they hire someone else. It's just volatile in that way. So those are the main pros and cons of IT. It can be stressful, it can be volatile, but on the other end, it makes more money. It is pretty stable if you have the skill set, and it has pretty good benefits. So somebody said, Techno P says, I have a question during an interview. What is the question? I have a question during an interview. He says, they asked me, how will I configure a new IT information system as an ISSO? I told them, as an ISSO, I don't configure them, but they asked me to just explain the process if I'm faced with the job. Here's what I would say, and I don't know if this is right or wrong, but anytime I'm asked questions like this, I always tell them, like, I'll rely on my team. Like, what am I configuring? Number one, like, it depends on what I'm configuring. Let's say I'm configuring. This is literally what I would say on this interview. I would say, well, it depends on what I'm configuring. I have done it before, right? Important piece. I have done it before, but normally what I do is I consult with the person who is in charge of that system. Let's say it's a firewall, right? So number one, what kind of firewall is it? The person who's in charge is going to know what kind of firewall that is. If it's let's say, it's a Cisco ASA. It's a Cisco ASA firewall. All right. I would sit down with them and I would want to see how they've configured the firewall. I'd sit down and work with them to figure out how we can best implement security on this system. So right here, what I'm telling them is that I am willing to do that work. So if I tell them, well, I don't do that. I'm an ISSO. I don't do that. I'm right there telling them what I'm not going to do. You don't want to do that. What you want to do is tell them, you want to always emphasize how you can help them, right? Now, if you don't want to do anything technical, then yeah, you said the right thing, because you don't want the job, basically. But if you want the job, you don't want to tell them no. You don't want to tell them no. You want to find a way to tell them yes. I hope that makes sense. So, like I said, so number one, I'm telling them immediately. Well, the first thing so first of all, I do have experience configuring systems. I do. Now, as your ISSO, I'm going to work with the people who are in charge there. I'm assuming that you have a team that's already doing the firewalls. And by the way, what is it? Is it a firewall? Is it a server? Kind of depends on what I'm doing. Let's say they say server. Well, it's a server 2012. Okay, so it's a server Windows, Microsoft 2016, whatever server it is. So I'm going to sit down with the team and I'm going to learn what it is what we're doing to the standards of the organization. So yeah, I'm going to work with the team, figure out what's going on, and then make sure that the system is configured within the security standards and policies within the organization. I'm telling them, yes, I'm going to do it. I'm telling them I'm willing to work with a team. I'm telling them yes, yes, yes. that has gotten me hired almost every time. Almost every time. Because 9 times out of 10, the place that you're going to is working with a team of people. They want to know that you're willing to work with a team of people, that you're willing to roll with the punches, because some especially smaller organizations are awesome, by the way. They're awesome because especially if they're on the rise, you can get stock options early in the company. You can get you can be a part of building their actual organization to this next level. They're usually way more flexible with you. So anyway, you're in a smaller organization, and a lot of times they need you to wear multiple hats. Like, it sounds like what they were really asking is, are you willing to do it? Right? Not necessarily, because especially if they didn't tell you if they said, okay, it's a firewall, you're on a firewall, ASA, Cisco, and you need to configure it to block the any-any's on the firewall. Now they're asking you, okay, are you a firewall administrator? That's kind of different. They're asking you to step through what you're going to do. You know what I mean? That's, if you don't have the skill set, you don't want to lie to them and try to fake it. You want to be like, nah, I'm not really a firewall administrator, but I'm willing to learn. You know, so once again, you're telling them yes. Like, I have not done it before with an ASA, but I'm willing to learn. I have worked with a Juniper firewall, whatever. I don't know if Juniper even has a firewall. I have worked with a Palo Alto firewall, but I've never worked with an ASA one. So I'd be willing to learn it. You know, I'm not sure immediately how to configure it, but I'm willing to work with your team and learn it. So that would be how I would answer it, and it's worked every time. As a matter of fact, the current job that I had asked me something to that effect. They asked me a question I didn't know. They asked me, well, I think it was PCI compliance. I'd never done it before. I'm not a PCI guy. PCI is a risk management framework for credit cards, for credit card systems that take your credit card information. They have to have a certain level of security to protect our privacy whenever you run your credit card through. And I didn't know it. I flat out said, well, you know, here's what I said. He said, so have you ever done PCI? Because we have a couple clients that have PCI and we need somebody who has that skill set. What do you bring to the table for that? If you were asked to work with PCI, what can you bring? And I said, well, you know, sir, I've not done PCI DSS before. I am familiar with it. I've heard of it. I know it's in line with what I've done before, risk management framework. But to be honest with you, I've never done PCI on a system before. But I'd be willing to learn it. It's something I'm actually very excited to learn about. You know, and actually I have looked at it before, and it looks very similar to what I've already done many times with risk management framework. So I'd be very interested in learning that with the team. Boom. All right. Somebody said, I just completed an online course risk management framework and FISMA, and I watched a lot of your videos, and I will like to know your best advice on getting my first job. What kind of job you willing to recommend I apply? What kind of job will you recommend I apply to? Okay, so for this, I would ask you, Brown, what kind of background do you have? What's your background, first of all, is what I would ask you. Because what your background is going to determine what I would recommend to you. I get this question often. Brown. So it really depends on what your background is. SCA at Brown. Are you okay? Michael Fernandez, you're saying SCA. Are you Brown or what? I'm wanting to know what Brown's background is, and I can answer this question to the best of my ability. Because what I could tell you is like what I've told some other people. I can give you a couple examples. I had a teacher who was like a superintendent, and he or she I've had a couple teachers ask me this, and I don't blame them because teachers are not paid they're not paid like they should be. I'll put it to you that way. But a couple of teachers, more than one, have come and reached out to me and said, hey, look, I'm trying to do what you're doing. How do I get into it? And I told them, listen, I said, and they don't have technical background. I said, look, you might not even want to do IT stuff. You might want to do, and I gave them some examples of stuff that are in parallel with IT, such as program management. Program managers make as much or more than your average IT person, but they're not having to do all this technical stuff. They don't have to take a security, they don't have to take an IT certification. They have their own whole path that has its own certifications. And if you've done administrator work before, it's going to make sense to you. It's going to make, if you're a program manager. So that's one thing. But Brown says, I do not have a background in risk management. I'm a cable technician and I'm looking to branch into IT. Okay, so first of all, you are adjacent to IT. So what I would do personally, if I was where you're at, you're actually in a good position here. And then let me explain to you why. So as a cable person, when you get into networking has some stuff about cable, LAN cables, how to oh my Lord, I'm having a huge brain. I can't remember what it's called, but you have your 4-pair or your 8-pair wires, and you have to configure the wires in a certain way to send data or to send voice. And the names are escaping me. I just haven't done it in a really long time. But what I'm trying to tell you is what I would do if I was you. If I laid cable, if I was a cable technician, what I would do is start to get into networking, because networking is going to make a lot of sense to you as a cable person. Let me show you if I can show you my screen here. And now keep in mind, I'm doing this straight off the dome here. So if I was doing cable, if I was running cable technician, and maybe cable for like people's homes, like actual what is it called? What's the cable called that you run? Is it do you mess around with Cat 5 at all? Or is it all what is it called? 10 base T? Man, I'm really dating myself. What kind of cable is it? Is it actual? So regardless of what kind of cable it is, I'll put it to you like this. If you get into networking, now I'm on Indeed.com. I use this a lot. A better site would be Dice.com or LinkedIn.com, Monster.com. All those are very good places to go. But what I would do if I were you is I would look into entry-level networking. It's going to make sense to you. It's some of what stuff that you do in cable, LAN cable technician is going to align with networking. I guarantee it. Because you're going to understand some of the stuff that they talk about with signals. You're going to understand some of the stuff they talk about as far as different types of cables, having different kinds of signals. If you ever worked with fiber, if you've ever worked with a 10 base T, I don't remember, coax cable, or if you've ever worked with Ethernet, Cat 5 or Cat 6. So those are all things that you probably have touched before or have heard of. So it's in line with what you're already doing. So number one, if you go to Indeed.com and you look for entry-level networking jobs, entry-level networking, you can follow along with me if you want. I'm on Indeed.com and I'm just typed in entry-level networking. So here you have a help desk technician. Now, don't laugh at these positions. You want somewhere to start, right? It's very important you get your foot in the door with the technical entry-level position, because nobody, and think about your bank. Like, you want your banker to be fresh off the street and not know anything about banking? No, you want them to have some level of experience. And so I'm kind of going through these entry-level networking. So networking itself is not a good keyword. So you said CCNA. So you said, I totally understand your answer. I've looked into networking courses and I'm very familiar with the CCNA exam. There you go. Now this guy knows what he's talking. That's this direction you go. CCNA. So let's type that in. Entry levels. In fact, you can actually start with a CCENT. CCENT, which is entry level certification for Cisco. That I think you have to start with a CCENT these days. I don't know. I'm so out of touch with networking these days. But look, IT support engineer 1. It doesn't start off with a lot of money, but you're not looking at the dollars per hour just yet. Right now, you're focused on the skill set. The skills and the experience that you get equal money. Okay, that's the key. IT field technician is another one that you will fully understand and completely get, because a lot of this is actually implementing people's local networks. IT help desk. IT, you want to start off from the beginning, and you go on to say, I want to work remotely because I recently family dynamic, and so I took a course in risk management framework and FISMA. So to start off with, that's good. I'm not saying don't study risk management framework. Very, very important, and I'll tell you why. Okay, you're gonna want to make your money initially and get your foot in the door with networking. Here's what I would do. Here's my strategy. Here's what I would do from where you're talking about. You're gonna want to get your foot in the door with networking. Why? Because you're gonna, first of all, you're gonna understand it almost immediately, because it's gonna be talking about signals. It's gonna be talking about different media that you use to transfer data. You're gonna get that. So it's gonna click to you, number one. And not a lot of people understand networking, and it's a super important piece of being an IT person that a lot of people don't get. You're gonna understand it. Okay, now it does go into TCP/IP and all that kind of stuff, but that's your bread and butter. You gotta learn it, and you gotta learn it. IPv4, IPv6, you have to learn it. All right, it has a little math in it. It's not impossible. It's not freaking rocket science. So if I put to you like this, if I can do it, you can do it. All right. So anyway, so from cable technician, I would go into networking as an entry level person. All right. You're not going to just jump into risk management framework and FISMA. All right. It's any kind of security stuff. It takes 3 to 4 years of IT to get into cybersecurity. All right. Cybersecurity is not an entry level. It's not entry level stuff, but I can tell you how you can start to get on the on-ramp for risk management framework, FISMA, and cybersecurity, where there's money, by the way. But networking has money too. So start with networking. Get your CCENT, get your CCNA. CCNA is money. It's cash money. See, let me show you something else here. Let me take you back to the screen here. Here's why I would take the strategy of starting off with networking. Let me show you something. I'm just going to type in CCNA here. CCNA is a damn good certification. I know because I had it before. And my first IT job outside of the military is because I had a CCNA. CCNA is no joke. If you get a CCNA, especially now, it's much harder to get now. When I did it, it was like one test. Now they've broken up into 2 or 3 tests. It's much harder now. But look at these jobs. Look at this. Look at this. I don't know if you can see this, but that says network operations technician. Now all I did was type in CCNA, and this is a $60,000 job. Okay, now there's some for $22 an hour, but these are entry-level positions. You want to get into those entry-level positions, do them for about 6 months to a year, put it on your resume, and then the next step is going to be something like a network administrator, a junior network administrator. Okay, and with networking, you really got to know your stuff. By the way, you can't fake it with networking. They'll test you right on the spot. It's kind of like software engineering. Like if you don't know, if you cannot fake network engineering or software engineering. They're gonna see immediately if you know what you're talking about or not. That's why it's imperative that you start off Get your CCN. The CCNA, CCENT is so that you can study and know the common body of knowledge that you need to know in order to navigate these fields that you're about to get into. All right, and start to create your own virtual environments, because you can literally start to study it and have your own network virtually on your PC and start to know how to network routers and switches and stuff like that, IP routing, all that kind of stuff. You can literally start to do it on your own system with something called GNS3 is one of the ones that you can use. And they've got tons of other applications that you put on your computer, and it has like a little network diagram, and you can configure this. You can log into this little virtual router and then configure the interfaces on the router and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, like I'm excited for you, man. If you're actually doing this, I'm really excited for you to start your career, because I think you're going to click on it and it's going to work. And you say, in risk management framework, I'm familiar with documenting FIPS 199, FIPS 200, system security plans. I believe I am competent for the task. I want to move out of the networking field. So you're saying that you are already in the networking field. Is that what you're saying? Because you said that you are a cable technician. If you're cable, I'm assuming that you are somebody who installs cable for people. Whether that's so if you're okay, let me give you a couple of things here. Let's say you are a network engineer and you've been in the field for, let's say, a year. Like, you've been a network engineer, you worked for an organization who has routers and switches, you understand routers and switches, you can set up a network, and you have about a year of experience. And let's say you have you didn't say you had any certifications, so I'm assuming you don't. First step, if you are a network engineer and you have a year of experience, is go ahead and go for a Security Plus. Go for a Security Plus. Security Plus is a very good certification, and it will get your foot in the door of many different jobs. All right. Now, I know there's going to be some people who watch this video, especially IT guys, going to be like, why is this guy always talking about certifications? I'm trying to make people money. Listen, the industry, you may not like it, but the industry does look at certifications, and they look very highly on certain certifications. Security Plus is one of those certifications. So get the certification. I mean, if you want to do you like money? If you like money, get the certification. You don't have to like the process. You know, it doesn't make sense to hate the game. Like, I mean, you can hate the game, but play it. You got to still play it. You know what I mean? So get the certification. Okay. So Brown says, like you rightfully said, my job is borderline networking. Exactly. That's why you start off, Brown, with networking, because you already understand it. Get your CCNA, get your CCENT. I'm talking about if all you do is, if you're a cable technician, your next level is network, is either help desk or network engineer. And I'm saying network engineer because if you understand networking, you are already 3 steps ahead of most people who are entry level in IT. I mean, if you're an IT guy, tell me I'm wrong. Most people don't understand networking, and they get through this whole field without understanding it, without doing any of it. You already have a little taste of it, and all you got to do now is take that next step, which is get that CCENT, CCNA, whichever one. I think you got to get the CCENT first, then get your foot in the door with a networking job, like a junior level networking job. After you get about 6 months to a year in, you could probably go straight for a Security Plus and apply for a risk management framework job. You can apply. I mean, you can apply for it. I can't guarantee that you would get it. They're looking for a little bit more experience, like 2-3 years of experience doing IT stuff. But you could, with your cable background, you could probably have a little bit more leverage in there. Another question is, do you have a degree? That's another one. Michael Fernandez says they will ask you for a Security Plus and a CEH. Don't hate the game. Yeah. I mean, that's another one. See, it's funny because CEH, people hate that, especially hackers, man. They talk so much crap about CEH. And I'm like, listen, the HR departments who are hiring people and paying people, who hold the purse strings, those are the guys asking for the CEH. Do they know what they're talking about? Of course not. They're not IT people. You know, the real certification to get is the OSCP or the, Kali Linux, those kinds of certifications. SANS course pen testing certifications are legit. CEH is I know, listen, CEH is a list of different, is the processes that you use for pen testing and hacking, stuff like that. And it's just a list of tools. And that's the test. I mean, that's from what I've heard. Oh, okay. But guess what? It pays a lot of money. Like, if you like money, then do it. If you like money. If you don't like money, okay. Go hack some systems or something. Brown says, and I know people are going to hate me because I just said that, but I'm just saying, like, I mean, do you want to make money in this field or not? Brown says, what if I was a teacher or a nurse? Like I said, Brown, if you are a cable technician, you already have a leg up on a teacher or a nurse. I do get teachers and nurses contacting me, asking me to do risk management framework. And what I tell them is, I'm honest with them. Like, doing cybersecurity takes 2 to 3 years of solid IT. Now, if you've been doing cable work for a while, guess what? Some of the stuff you've done qualifies as IT work. So you're almost there. Your next step is to do pure networking stuff or help desk. Either one would do, but networking would be way more beneficial to you in the long run. I'm just telling you. So I would, if you are a teacher or a nurse, what I normally tell them is I tell them to either go into some kind of entry-level help desk job, which is going to be hard for them because they're starting from nothing. So I'll tell them, hey, use your current job if you're a nurse. Let's say you're a nurse. I say use your current job at your hospital. Let's say you work at I don't know, Centura or some local hospital, right? And you're a nurse there. What I would do if I was a nurse at a hospital and I want to go into IT is I would start talking to the IT guys there. I'd talk to them, see if you even want to get into that career field. Then if it's legit and you're like, wow, this is something I really want to do, talk to your HR department, see if they have any programs for nurses to go into IT. You'd be surprised. Talk to the organization you work for, even if you're going to a college. Talk to the organization that you currently work for and say, hey, I'm really wanting to get into IT. Do you guys have any programs to start IT work? Ask them. Just ask them. Ask the local help desk guy. Usually some geek will really want to talk to other people about their job, about either how horrible it is or how great it is, and because you can really, they want to talk about their craft, especially if they love the work that they do, they're going to want to talk about it. So that's what I would say. That's what I normally say to people who are coming in off the street, meaning like they have zero background, not like you that you're already doing cable stuff. You're already doing something kind of technical. You actually have a leg up on most people. I would even argue some IT people. You actually have more experience. You probably, you'll be surprised once you get into this field. You'll be surprised. Okay, let me read a couple more comments here. It says, M. Joss says, I am new to the cybersecurity field. I received my master's degree in cybersecurity. Congratulations. But I cannot get my foot in the door. I received my degree in 2018. Any suggestions of what to do? When you say new to the cybersecurity field, do you mean that do you have a job currently? Oh, I am currently doing help desk work. Okay, good. This is good. Okay. Here's what I said. How many years have you been on the help desk? How many years? And then do you have a certification? Because now what you want to start doing is mapping out your path. But it depends on how many years you have, or how many months, how long have you been on the help desk, and do you have any IT certifications? My next question would be, where do you live? Because some places, the reason why I'm asking these questions is because when you want to level up, certifications is the way to do it. Like I said, a lot of IT guys don't like to hear this. Like, they don't like paper tigers. About 10 years? You have 10 years on the help desk. You have 10 years on the help desk. Is that what you're saying? Okay. How many certifications do you have? Do you have any? You have an A+, a Network Plus, and a Cybersecurity Plus. Okay, something's wrong. All right, where do you live? In Maryland? Okay, something's seriously wrong. It's your resume. Because resume is the mecca of cybersecurity. Yeah, there's no other place on earth that has more jobs for cybersecurity than Maryland. You're in the mecca. Excuse my religious references here. You're in the main place where people hire everyone. Something's wrong. Like, it's either your resume or something's going on. Like, you should have people in line to give you a job. Yeah, Maryland has the most jobs. Like, it has more jobs than, I'm in Colorado. It has more jobs. Colorado has like 5 bases, and Maryland, that area, it's not just Maryland itself. It's Maryland, Washington, D.C., and that whole area in Virginia. That whole area has more. And why is that? Let me explain it. They have more federal organizations there, I think, than anywhere else in the United States, if I had to guess. They have all the 3-letter organizations. They have Department of Defense. They have several other federal departments there. And then you have like 3 states with all kinds of state departments. Like, you have so many jobs there. So whenever somebody says, I can't find a job and I'm an IT guy in Maryland or Virginia or whatever, I'm like, there's something wrong with your resume, man. It's got to be. It's got to be. I mean, it's people offer me jobs. I'm thousands of miles away, and they offer me jobs in Maryland constantly. I have to turn my phone off so that they could stop calling me. Something's wrong with your resume. All the jobs I'm out for, they denied me because of lack of working experience. You have 10 years of experience. It's your resume. So, I mean, what you could do, you said you already have a Security Plus, a CompTIA Security Plus. I mean, I don't know. Are you a U.S. citizen? I mean, something's wrong. Michael Fernandez says he lives in Maryland, too close to D.C. What the F? Yeah, exactly. WTF. That makes no sense. Man, that makes no sense. I'm in MD and still waiting behind to be hired. Maybe resume. Yeah, I'm telling you, I get so many offers from that place. I mean, it's constant. Most of the jobs, okay, you say 10 years on the help desk, not in cybersecurity field. Okay, so here's the thing, my man, and all you guys, like, listen, if you're on help desk, you have done cybersecurity work before. You just have to put it on your resume. What you do is you put it on your resume. Have you ever updated an operating system before? If you've ever updated signatures on antivirus, if you've updated the antivirus software, if you've installed antivirus software, have you ever created an account for a user? Have you ever all of those things are cybersecurity things that you've done before. Have you ever written a document for your organization? Have you ever written instructions for your organization? Have you ever participated in helping them out with the policy? Have you ever done continuous monitoring? What is continuous monitoring? It's scans. Have you ever helped part of your organization run scans before? Have you ever had to connect the system to the network and had to put security on that system? All that stuff's got to be in your resume. It's got to be up front. Because you've done security before. You're not just some help desk guy. You've done security, especially if you've done this for 10 years. If you've done this for 10 years, you definitely have 10 years of security experience. Active Directory. I mean, come on. You got to work with policies. You got to work with domain. It's all security. It's so many security stuff wrapped into endpoint devices, where you have to lock down the system, lock down users, all that security stuff. You just have to put it on your resume. It has to be on your resume so that you can legitimately say, I've done cybersecurity since 2000, the year 2000 or whatever. You said 10 years, so the year 2010. So yeah, you can legitimately put on there, you are a cybersecurity person if you have done any of the things that I just said for a number of years. You just got to put it on your resume. So if you're presenting your resume in such a way that it looks like, there's certain things you put on your resume that makes you look like that you're on the help desk for a couple years, right? But if you've done all this stuff, you need to put it on your resume, and you need to highlight the cybersecurity stuff you've done. And you need to put a ton of keywords on your resume so that people will see it. And when they do, as a matter of fact, let me just show you a couple things real quick before I get off this thing. I gotta go cook some dinner, but I just want to show you something real quick. I want to show you something. Couple things. I want to enlighten because I'm seeing a couple people saying, listen, I live in Virginia and I don't have a job and I'm an IT person. I'm telling you that is nonsense. I'm not saying you're a liar, but I'm saying that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. It's Virginia, DC, Maryland are the hotspot for this whole thing right now. It's going to change. It's not going to last forever, just like Silicon Valley didn't last forever. It's not going to last forever, guys. Right now, though, it's a gravy train. It's a gravy train. There's people starting businesses out there. There's people hiring tons of people out there. I'm not even messing around with you. Half the jobs that I've gotten came from Maryland. And I'm in Colorado. I probably took 4 or 5 of you guys' jobs. I'm not lying. I'm not exaggerating. You gotta fix your resume, because that's the only thing I can see that's got to be wrong. Especially if you're doing the help desk for 10 years and wanting to get out. Like, they're not saying there's anything wrong with that, but if you're trying to level up, if you're trying to move on, then and you're in Washington D.C., Maryland, Virginia, something's wrong. And it's got to be your resume. Okay, so what I'm doing right here in the back end here, just give me a second here. What I'm doing is I'm logging into a couple of things here, so I can show you guys how I've been able to do this for years. There's a method to my madness. I have not. The only time I'm unemployed is when I'm between jobs. Put it to you that way. I don't go without jobs. Even during COVID-19, I'm still getting job offers. It's crazy. It's crazy. And it's doing the cybersecurity stuff. And there's a reason for it. And I'm going to show you that reason here in a second, as soon as I can log into my freaking account. Give me a second here. I'm really trying. I haven't logged into this thing in a long time. What is going on? I'm trying to get into LinkedIn and I can't. Something's wrong. I'm about to lock myself out. Give me a second here, guys. show you a couple things. The first thing I'm going to do is pay some bills. So I'm going to switch over here. Let me show you something. Okay. What you're looking at here is ConvoCourses. Okay. Now, ConvoCourses is a condensed version, a condensed, organized version of my YouTube channel, where I take everything I've learned and I put it into a course. Some of these courses are free. Some of these courses that I put out there are free on here. Organized. I'd spent hours working on this stuff. But let me show you one that it doesn't get a lot of sales, but it's the one as in life has been the most beneficial to me. This is resume marketing and cybersecurity for cybersecurity and IT. This right here is why I'm always employed. This course right here. What I did was I took the method that I've been using for years and years since I got out of the military in 2000. I got out of the military in 2003. I have not been out without a job. I always have a job. I'm always offered jobs. And I was like, why am I so lucky? It's not luck. There's a process to it. It's not luck, guys. Success favors the prepared. And that's what I'm showing you how to do on this. Now, if you don't have the money to do it, listen, if you don't have the money to do it, don't buy it. Okay. But if you do, you buy this course, I'll walk with you every step of the way. All right. Like literally you can contact me and I'll look through your resume, all that stuff. But this right here, this process is how I've done it. And I can tell you right now, look, I'll give you a bird's eye view of this thing. Some of this is free, by the way. Some of this parts of this very course is free. Go to ConvoCourses.com, link in the description below. Some of it's free. If you sign up, some of it's free. So number one, what you want to do is you have to do your research. You have to do your research. Okay. What does that mean? I'm going to show you in a second. You got to do your research. Once you do your research, you got to focus on keywords. You got to put those keywords in your resume. Once you put them in your resume, once you fine-tuned and dialed in your resume, you want to advertise and market yourself. That's the name of the game. Link in the description below if you want to get to this site. This is the bread and butter. Success favors the prepared. Now, let me show you what I do to research. This right here is LinkedIn. This is my LinkedIn page. This is the one I use to get jobs. All right. That's what you're looking at right here. Let me show you something. This is my resume right here. I haven't updated this in a while. I don't need it. I got a great job. I'm getting paid at this job. I'm not bragging. I'm just telling you this could be you. All I've done is leveled up for the last 10 years. And that's why I'm at where I'm at. It wasn't easy and it took time. But the reason why it has worked is because I have a method to my madness. It's not random. It's not luck. It's a process. Now, first thing I told you was I did my research. How do you research? You got to know what words people are using on their resume. So let me show you something. So if we type in, let's say you want to be in a risk management framework, okay? Risk management. So what you do is you'll type in risk management framework. Risk management framework. See how it's already auto-correcting? A lot of research is just this right here. It's auto-correcting. This is telling you right here, typing in to get to this these jobs. They're typing in risk management specialist, risk management analyst. There you go right there. There's some of it. Let's find another keyword here. Let's RMF. I mean, as soon as if you're following along with me, you're already conducting some research on your own. Now look at this. I typed in risk management framework. Now this is important. First guy who pops up is a dude who has a CISSP, CEH, and ITIL and some other certifications. Right? Why is this important? Because this is telling you how this algorithm on LinkedIn is behaving. And this guy is number one. So let's go see what this guy is saying. You do your research by looking at this person's resume. I'm not telling you to lie, but I am telling you to steal. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to this person's resume and you're going to look at the wording that they use. What wording did this person use? You're going to steal the wording that they use. Don't lie. You're not lying, okay? What you're doing is you're wording the stuff that you have done with the language that is being used on this particular platform. Now, each platform is a little bit different. You go to dice.com, it's going to be slightly different from LinkedIn. You go to monster.com, it's going to be different from this one. One of the things I also do on the course is I go through many of the ones that I use that have worked for me, that I have not gone without. That's what I do. But right now, without you paying anything, I'm telling you right now, this is how you do it. Research. Number one step. Do your research. There's some other stuff that I go into on the course, but if we want to get to the guts of this thing, do your research. What is research? You're looking for the language of whatever field you're getting into. Cybersecurity is huge. Like, what if you say, I want to be in cybersecurity? What does that even mean? Think about it. Cybersecurity is like 20 different fields. All right. It's risk management framework. It's network security. It's cryptography. It's forensics. There's so many different fields. You got to be specific. Now, that said, once you choose, let's say you chose forensics, right? You chose forensics. You got to realize that once you do your research, you'll realize, okay, well, forensics, the average person in forensics has a bachelor's degree, has a master's degree. The average person in forensics has a master's degree. I don't know if that's the case. I'm speculating, okay? I've not been in forensics. But your research is going to allow you to know what the field is like and what you need for that field. Some fields require no less than a master's degree. Some fields don't require a degree at all. All right? They require certification. Some fields are like super heavy on certifications. Listen, you can hate the game all you want, but I'm just telling you how it works. So, number one, do your research. What is the field you're trying to go into? What do they need? All right. What kind of keywords do they use? That's easy to find out. You just go to LinkedIn and you see what people are using in their resumes. You look at employers and look what they're looking for. What are they typing in when they say they want a risk management framework person? How many years on average are they looking for? You'll find it's around 2 to 3 years, by the way. Now, if they want 2 to 3 years of experience, and you don't have that in risk management, you might want to look into your own organization and see if you can get in. You might even already have risk management framework experience. And that's one of the things I tell you how to put on. How do you put that on your resume? How do you even know if you've done it? I'll give you one example. Like MJA right here says he's been doing help desk for 10 years. And I asked him, like, okay, have you ever assisted with a policy before? What kind of policy was it? Was it Sarbanes-Oxley? Was it a DSS PCI? Was it a risk management framework policy? If you've helped to create a risk management framework, now I know that sometimes our field, like me as a risk management framework person, as an ISSO, I have reached out to firewall guys and said, hey, could you? I'm not a firewall person. Could you I'm trying to write this policy or procedure about firewalls. Could you add some stuff in here? And then they will give me what they have. They give it to me, and then I put it in a different language or whatever. I translate it to where managers can read it to easy speak. And then it's boom, it's a policy or it's a procedure or whatever. So if this firewall guy's helped me by giving me the data, guess what? He has participated in a risk management framework. You can put that on your resume and you're not lying. So that's why I asked him, have you ever written a procedure? Have you ever written a policy? That's half of our job is writing policies, reading through policies, correcting, updating policies. A lot of our job in risk management framework is doing that very thing. So if you've ever written a policy, if you've written a wiki, if you've written any of these things, especially if you've done it so that your organization can be compliant with FSMA, can be compliant with state and local regulations, you have participated in security compliance. You have to put it on your resume, though. If you don't put it on your resume, no one's going to know that you ever did those things. I'm blown away when people tell me that they have been in Washington, D.C., Virginia, and Maryland and are not leveling up. It blows my freaking mind because that means your resume is jacked up. It's got to be. I mean, I don't know what else could be. I really don't, because it's not racism. I can tell you that much, because they're hiring me in another state. You know how many companies that I've worked for that were from Maryland? Quite a few. And I live in Colorado, so just telling you, the jobs are there. Okay, somebody else said, do you think not having a bachelor's degree will really hurt my chances? I would say this. I'm just going to be very frank about this. It will hurt your chances of making more money, because a lot of companies, especially contracting companies, are looking for a bachelor's degree. Now, there's things that you can do instead of a bachelor's degree that will help you to continue to level up. And one of those is certifications. Here we go again, right? Certifications. But certain certifications make as much or more than bachelor's degrees. I'm just being honest with you. A lot of contracts, the reason why a lot of contractors are looking for the bachelor's degree is because it's federally mandated by so the federal policy and directive is called 8140. 8140 is very interesting. It's one of the things I talk about in my course, by the way. 8140. Let me see if I can show you real quick. I really got to get off this thing after this though. 8140. Let me show you why so many people ask for this. Oh, by the way, so while I'm typing here, one of the things that you can do, instead of a bachelor's degree is a CISSP or a CASP certification, and I'm going to show you why in a second here. If I can find a good place for the, okay, you know what? Let me just show you my screen real quick. Should be safe. Okay, so what I did was I just went into Google and typed 8140 certification. 8140, like I said, is a DoD directive. It's actually used across many federal organizations use this. And because of this, so many federal organizations and state organizations are jumping on the bandwagon for this 8140, a lot of organizations such as CompTIA.org, GIAC, and many SANS, all these different organizations are jumping on the bandwagon and marketing to the 8140 because they realize how important it is. Another thing you can do, by the way, is put it on your resume that you're working towards a bachelor's degree. Some companies will actually help you to get that degree, especially if you have skills. If you have skills is the most important thing. It's more important than a certification. It's more important than a degree. The most important thing you can bring to the table is your skills and your experience. I mean, by far, bar none, experience trumps everything. No pun intended. Experience over everything. Okay? So, if you have a skill set, let's say they hire you because you're a Splunk master, right? You know Splunk inside and out. You know it's so good, and you've been doing it for 5 years. All right? But you don't have a degree. And they're like, look, we require a degree. However, we can see you have 5 years of Splunk experience and you're really good. So listen, we'll hire you, but you have to get this degree within 2-3 years or whatever, right? Within a year or whatever. Can you get it? Can you do that? Sometimes they'll do. I know that because they did that not for a degree. They did this for CISSP. I went into a job when I first got out of the military. One of my first jobs, my second job actually out of the military. They said the requirement was I had to have a CISSP, and at the time I did not have one. This was 2004, and I had a Security Plus though. No, I didn't. I didn't have a Security Plus. So then they go, listen. This job we see that you have skills though. We see you've been doing this in the military for X amount of years. You've been doing, at the time it's called DIACAP. It's the same thing as risk management framework. They say we see you've been doing this. We need your skill set. Can you get a CISSP in a year? And I said, yeah, right? Always say yes. Remember, always say yes. I said, yes, I can do it, right? And I was confident at the time. I was confident I could do it. So I get in, they hired me. I get like a 20% raise, right? Because I'd been doing like straight up Linux. I was like a Unix administrator and doing like SATCOM stuff that I always wanted to do. I was doing all this networking, crazy freaking networking stuff. But number one, I wasn't super skilled at it. And number two, I was an entry level guy, so they weren't paying me very much. But I was able to learn it and all that kind of stuff. But I wasn't like freaking the Michael Jordan of excuse my language, of Unix. But anyway, I got this other job, and they said, listen, if you can get this CISSP in a year, we're gonna hire you. I said, yes, I can do it. They hired me, and not only, so they paid for my CISSP, by the way. They paid for me to go to a couple boot camps, and they paid for me to study all that kind of stuff. Anything I didn't do a boot camp for CISSP. I did a boot camp for CEH or something, some kind of black hat thing that they had me do. But I ended up getting the Security Plus, and they said, okay, look, you're supposed to get the CISSP in a year, and I was so nervous to take it because I knew how hard it was. I said, look, I'll take the Security Plus right now. But after my year, I took the Security Plus, and they said, okay, I got the Security Plus. And they said, okay, look, now you got to get that CISSP. I said, okay, I'll do it. So then the next year, I studied for like 2 years straight to get the CISSP, and I got it. But yeah, so bachelor's degree, that is a really good question. Does it hurt you? I would say it hurts your money. I mean, I'm just being honest. And the higher degree you have, I say up to a master's degree. I say probably a PhD is not. Master's degree is good. PhD is like a lot for a little. Unless you're trying to run a company or, I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't get a doctorate, but it's not necessary to make six figures. I'll put it to you that way. Okay, let me see. So what else was I showing you? Okay, yeah. I was showing you this 8140 and showing you why it's important to get a certification or a degree. This 8140 not only goes into different certifications that you should get, but it goes into the time frame of how long experience you should have, and it goes into degrees. And this is not it. Okay. Let me see if I can find the actual 8140 policy. There's so many people advertising for it these days that it's hard to find the actual 8140. Here's the 8140 right here. I don't know if this is the full-blown policy. Let me see. Degree. Let's see if I can find the actual. Nope, that's not it. Nope. Certification. It goes into certificate. It doesn't. This part I don't think mentions the certifications by name, but they have another portion of this that does. It goes into how many years of experience you should have. It details. Essentially, this is not the document. This is the directive, but there's another one that goes into greater detail about it, and I'll keep looking for it as we talk here. So there's directive and a policy that goes into how many years of experience they want an organization to have for their workers or cybersecurity workforce. How many, if you have a degree, how many years, what kind of degree you should have at certain levels, and all that kind of stuff is what it breaks down. And that's what I was looking for, because that right there is the reason why so many organizations are looking for degrees and stuff. Yeah. And somebody said, the higher education you get, go get that higher education if you can. Yeah, absolutely, I agree with that. Yeah, so I'm not trying to bash master's degrees or doctorates or anything like that. Yeah, you should definitely get the higher one you get at the most prestigious college, whatever. You don't have to get it at a prestigious college. It doesn't have to be a master's or a doctorate. I'm just saying, if you want 6 figures, bachelor's degree, you got to get a bachelor's degree. I mean, 9 times out of 10, most of the time. I mean, I have met people who are making 6 figures with none of that. It's very rare, and they were geniuses. But it does happen. So, let me see. I'm trying to find. Okay, well, this is the best I can find right here. So let me just show you this. I don't want to leave you empty-handed here. So this is a breakdown of the 8140 workforce. DoD approved 8140, formerly named 8570 baseline certifications. And so what they're saying is at this level, AIT level 1, which means information assurance technician level 1, they're wanting you to get one of these certifications. And then level 2, level 1 is like a help desk person. Like they're usually working on this one system right here, and they're troubleshooting this system. Level 2 is, I believe that's like, it's everything in level 1, but also includes networking. Like you got to know a little bit more about how it attaches to the rest of the network. And then level 3 is when you're getting into like weapon systems, the specialized systems, and like maybe multiple sites that have networking, stuff like that. So that's kind of how it was explained to me. And since I've been in the field, that's kind of how they put you into these different boxes. And then information assurance management, that is dealing with the people who actually manage the help desk or manage the LAN or the environments, the enterprise level stuff. And then they have other ones like architect, which I've never been I've worked with them. I've not done that position. Cybersecurity, service providers. I've done some of these. I was an analyst at one point. Incident responder. I've done that. Done auditing and some of this stuff. And yeah, they're looking for these particular certifications, and these do change from time to time. So I hope that answered your question. It's kind of a long-winded explanation of something that was a little bit more simple. Okay, I'll answer. Let me read one more question. I gotta get the heck out of here. Would you recommend moving from a GS federal ISSO to a contractor position? The benefits and stability are really good with feds, but the pay is low. Thomas Johns, I actually did a whole video. Please search out my video on this YouTube channel for this one, because I've been asked this a couple times, and I did a pretty thorough explanation of what I think. Somebody specifically asked me, they were a GS person and they were trying to move into contract work, and they asked me whether they should do it. And what I did was I broke down the pros and cons of each, but I can very quickly do this. What do I think about this? Let me just, pros and cons. Okay, GS position for ISSO, they're not paid super high, but you got to take into account that they have the best benefits probably of anyone in the United States, as far as the United States is concerned, right? You probably can't compare to Sweden or something like that, but in the United States, the GS positions probably have the best benefits. They have the most time off. They have really good medical benefits, which is super important in the U.S. They have good dental benefits. It's solid, right? It's so solid. And then it takes an act of Congress to get you fired. Like, they do not fire people in GS positions. That said, it can be stagnant and you're kind of in one place for a really long time, they don't make a lot of cash, but it makes up, the benefits make that up. It can be a little bit boring, and that's another thing that I didn't like in particular. You're at the whims of the government and how slow the government moves on a lot of things. If you move for contracting work, the pros of contracting is you get to touch a lot more technology. It's more fun, especially if you're in IT, if you're into cybersecurity. You get to learn more things. There's more stuff going on. Everything's moving really fast and everything. So it's more fun to constantly keep up with the trends and everything. And it pays more. It pays significantly higher, like 30 to 40% higher in contracting work. The cons, the bad things, is that their benefits are normally not that good. Like you get, 14, if you're lucky, 10 days off a year. Unless you find a really good company that's comparable to, it's giving you way more time off and stuff. It's more volatile. That's another thing that's really bad. If you have a family, I would recommend GS. It's boring, but you're not going to get fired. Contracting work, I've been doing it for years. It's super volatile, man. It's crazy volatile. Yeah, you get paid more, but at any moment they can just let you go for any reason. It's just ridiculous. And especially now, companies are not loyal to workers. They really don't care. And they're being given a carte blanche to do whatever they want to employees. I know I'm not trying to complain or anything. I mean, I've been living off the teat of contract work for many, many years. I now am an employee at a gigantic company. Even then, though, they can let me go at any time, They let some guys go because some time card stuff that happened about a month ago. So, I would say if you have a family, if you're older, I would still stick with GS. I would not move in this volatile, crazy space. Now, if you're a younger dude, if you're 20s, if you have maybe a very young family, you guys are living off of, not as much money. You don't have a gigantic house payment or anything like that. You have less bills, less debt, or maybe you're single. Yeah, go for it, man. Go for the the contracting positions. Go for it. Try to start your own damn business. Take the risks. If you got a little less to lose, I would say that would be my. So the thing is, Thomas, I was actually offered something. I was a contractor about, man, what year was that? 2008 and 2007. That time frame. I was a contractor, and I'd been a contractor for like 5 years up to that point, and the government took me aside, and they were about to let all our positions go, and they were letting us know like 2 years in advance. And they said, look, all the positions that we have, it was like risk management framework type work, developing system security plans, that kind of stuff, and compliance, things like that. They said, look, sat me down, said, we're about to let this whole thing go. We're going to transfer over all your positions to GS positions. Are you interested in taking a position with us? And I said, maybe. I mean, I would be able to retain my total active duty service, so that wouldn't be bad. I like working here. I like working with the people. It's pretty stable. But then I said, well, how much does it pay though? Like, I'm not familiar with the GS positions. Like, what GS level would I be at? And he said like a GS 9 or GS 10. And at the time, it was gonna pay me about $15,000 less than I was making. I was making about, at the time, about 75, and it was the most money I'd ever seen in my life. It was the most money I'd ever seen in my life, and I was happy with it. I was making about 75, 80, something like that, and they offered me about 60 something, and I was like, I gotta take a $15,000 pay cut. I'm like, I don't know. Like, meanwhile, I was like, I'll think about it, you know. But meanwhile, I had a business on the side. The business was going good. And at the time, I was like, this business is about to blow up. I'll make more money than all of this. And that's not what happened, by the way. The business didn't go well. Like, it went well for a while, and then it folded. So anyway, so on the other side of it, you know, I wasn't taking super high risk. I was still looking for another job. I was like, well, let me look for another job and see what happens with that. And this other job offered me like 90. And I was like, what? So I had the choice of taking a job for 90. Now, at the time, I had a kid. I had one kid at the time. I was married, had a house payment, had all this debt. And so I got a chance to either make 95, 65, or 65,000, right? And I'm like, I'm going to take the 95. And yeah, I mean, if I'd done it though, here's the thing. Here's the drawback for me. I would have been able to retire I would have been able to retire by now. So give and take, you know. And the retirement would have been $2,000 a month or something like that. I don't know, something like that, to $1,500. By now, I'd be retiring. So yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. That's it, guys. I gotta go make some food, some rice. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate everybody's questions. I'm sorry I wasn't able to get to everyone's questions, but I always appreciate all of these sessions we have. Mja, if you have my email, please send me your resume. I'll take a look at it. Anybody else, send me your resume. I'll take a look at it if I have time. But if you sign up for my, let me pay some bills real quick. If you sign up for this, anyone else, you or anyone else signs up for this, I will, you know, very guaranteed look at your resume, guaranteed. Because I, you know, like if you've paid for it, and I'm gonna walk you through what I did. If you have any questions about this thing, I will help you out. And that's it, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate